Yo, what's up guys, my name's Hakiii, and in this video we're gonna go over the current power rankings for supercars in GTA Online. I thought of how they do power rankings in sports and thought I can apply that to cars in GTA, and so I guess in the future I could do this for different car classes, so we have a little like series going on. Let me know in the comments if you do want to see that. We're gonna take into consideration looks, performance, and other cool features each car has. So let's get started with number 10, which is the Thrax. The Thrax is one of the most popular supercars in the game, and rightly so, especially because of its looks. And driving it around is great. It's probably the most sturdy supercar you're ever gonna drive in GTA Online. It just feels very well built and stable to drive it around. Very good handling overall, good traction, solid acceleration, and the top speed is not bad either. I wouldn't say it's the absolute very top tier for racing, but it could still be somewhat competitive. Its $2.3 million price tag can definitely get you a solid supercar. If you're on a budget, do not buy the Thrax though, because this next option is gonna be way more worth it for you. At number 9, we have the Zentorno. In the Bang for Your Buck cars video, I actually included this one. This one's by far the most affordable option on this list, so if you're on a budget, definitely pay attention to this one. The Zentorno is a great all-arounder supercar. You get fantastic handling with a very futuristic, almost like a transformer type look. It's pretty fast, it's got great customization as well. It actually got extra customization in recent years. They added extra spoiler options, some cool liveries and stuff, and you can get this awesome supercar for just $725,000. That is so worth your money, and as I said previously, I featured it in the Bang for Your Buck video because it is an absolute bang for your buck deal. Way back in the day, in like the 2014 2015 days, it competed with the Adder for the best supercars. I remember just seeing videos on YouTube about like comparisons between the two, so that's also something going forward. The fact that it's OG, you can't say that about a lot of cars on this list because a lot of the good ones are pretty new, or at least came out after like 2015, we'll say. Really sleek supercar, the Zentorno, highly recommend it. Next up is one of my personal most beloved supercars in the game, the T20. The Progen T20 is such a good supercar for so many reasons. I think it came out a long time ago in the Ill-Gotten Gains DLC, and ever since then it's always been at the top of the list when it comes to good looking supercars and also good supercars for races. Something very unique about the T20 is the active spoiler, or some people like to call it just the retractable spoiler. Basically how it works is only when you start driving it goes up, and then once you completely come to a full stop it will go back down. It's a very cool feature, it looks awesome, and the T20 is based off of McLaren, so obviously it looks super nice. It's very curvy as well, kind of different than the Zentorno, which I would say has a bit more of a sharper type look. The T20 is one of the most nostalgic supercars in the game for me, along with let's say the Adder and the Zentorno. The engine sound of it sounds cool, and it's actually very good around the track, like especially going around corners. It is fantastic for races, but if you're doing a race that has a lot of just driving straight at top speed, it's not the greatest option for that. Top speed is at 123 miles per hour, which is pretty good still. It doesn't come cheap though at $2.2 million without upgrades. Staying in the Progen car family, we have the Progen Emirates now. While the Emirates is in the same car family as the T20, it's very different than the T20 in performance. The Emirates is faster, especially when it comes to top speed, and I would say it's a little less good when it comes to going around turns. The T20 would be better for races with a lot of turns and a lot of sharp ones as well, but the Emirates would be a lot better for races that you need to use top speed and you just have fewer turns. But regardless, overall the Emirates is just a much better car for races. It's at that top tier for performance, so you definitely want to look at this one if you're looking for a top tier supercar. There are much better handling supercars than it, but I think the speed makes up for it. It's one of those cars that shines when it comes to speed, and then you compromise with less good traction, but it's not that bad. Definitely still usable for races, and I bet this car is a lot of people's go-to racing car as well. I see the Emirates as like the T20's big brother, also because of the even steeper price tag of $2.75 million bucks. Next up is another one I really like, which is the Wagner. The Wagner is somewhat of a more affordable option. Now, is it as affordable as the Zentorno? No, but it's kind of in between the Zentorno's $700,000 price tag to those $2 to $3 million price tags. It sits at about $1.5 million, which is a pretty freaking good price for what you get. You get a cool and unique looking supercar with really good performance too. The big rear light in the back specifically looks awesome. It's got the sick butterfly doors just like you see on like Tesla Model X's in real life. Really no complaints when it comes to this car's looks. Slap on a spoiler and this car would look absolutely mean. It handles pretty well. The traction is one of the better ones I've seen. Top speed is great and the acceleration is not bad. The main thing I like about the Wagner is the price of it. As I said, you get a lot of great value for what you're paying. And at the next spot is the weaponized Ignis. Now this vehicle is a little bit different because it's only available on a next gen GTA. If you're still playing on Xbox One or PS4, you will not be able to get this vehicle anywhere. You'll only be able to see its like little brother, which is not nearly as great, just the regular Ignis. And so that's why in this specific spot we're going to be talking strictly about the weaponized version. Let's start with the fact that it's an HSW vehicle, which means it's got enhanced performance upgrades, meaning it's faster than usual and it's just gonna absolutely smoke like a good majority of all other vehicles in the game. Not only the crazy performance, but you also have a crazy strong machine gun on the top. That gun on the top, which you can use simultaneously as you're driving by pressing LB, or I think it's L1 on PlayStation, it absolutely shreds. I mean, you can blow up street vehicle within a matter of a few seconds. It's also very strong against people on foot, whether it's NPCs or other players and stuff. It's easily one of the strongest machine guns I've seen in the game. I can't think of a machine gun stronger than that one. Holy crap, it's an absolute tank of a gun. Not much else to say about this car besides the price tag of it, which I mean Rockstar definitely knew this thing was worth a good amount. That's why you can only buy it in the Warstock website for a hefty $4.5 million bucks, and with all the upgrades and stuff, it's probably gonna be in the 5 something million. You're getting a pretty overpowered vehicle for a lot of money, so this one's for the rich. Next one is the Champion. Now the highlight of this vehicle isn't necessarily the performance or the looks. This one's a little bit different. Kind of like with the weaponized Ignis, although it doesn't have HSW upgrades, it's Imani Tech upgradable. If you don't know what Imani Tech is, you can equip things like the missile lock-on jammers, so any weaponized vehicle in the game with homing missiles cannot lock onto you. Also extra armor plating and stuff as well, so you can withstand rockets, so it's very, very useful. The performance is solid. I don't think it looks the greatest personally, but it did squeeze into this spot because of the unique feature with the Imani Tech. It's a rarity for a supercar to have Imani Tech upgrades, so that's why. Following the Champion, we have the Torero XO. This is a pretty recently released supercar. It came out within the past year or so when I'm recording this, I think. It's a very sleek and futuristic type supercar, and a pretty cool feature of it is the pop-up headlights. You don't see that with like any supercars in the game. In fact, the only other cars I can think of that have the pop-up headlights are the Cheetah Classic and the Turismo Classic. It is easily one of the cleanest looking supercars in the game. If you put a nice paint job on it, along with let's say maybe a livery, it's so easy to make this car look good. A lot of it is just very flat and clean. And by the way, with the pop-up headlights, I forgot to mention, all you need to do to open and close them is just press right on the D-pad on console. Not sure what it is on PC though. It's got one of the highest top speeds in the game for a supercar. Paired up with solid handling, it is a recipe for success. And I believe if you leave the stock spoiler on it, it also has an active or retractable spoiler, just like we talked about with the T20. The only bad thing I could point out about it is just the price of it. It's one of the most expensive supercars in the game, coming in at $2.9 million without upgrades. At number 2, we have the LM87, also a more recently released supercar. Not super recent, but anything within the past few years I consider to be a bit more recent than, let's say, like the Zentorno or the T20, which is from way back in 2014-15-ish. It's based off more of an old school Mercedes type supercar, which I think is super cool. It's kind of like we have an older model supercar that's not in the sports classics, but in the supercars class. It's good that this thing is in the supercars class and not in the sports classics, because it does make more sense for it to be in the supers class, especially because of its crazy good performance. Speaking of that, it's got crazy good traction. It might be the best traction I've ever used on a supercar in GTA Online. I want to say it's got the best traction in all of the supers class, at least for my experience. Even going at high speeds and sharper turns, this thing is just glued to the road sometimes. It handles fantastically overall. I really enjoy driving it around, and top speed is pretty good as well. Also a nice variety of customization options as well, so overall this car is just a massive W, besides it costing $2,915,000. At number 1 is my go-to supercar, which is the Krieger. The Krieger is top tier in performance, and it's been my go-to car, especially for racing, for a while now. Great handling, it's very easy to drive around, it's fast of course, the acceleration's awesome, one of the better accelerations I've used out of all supercars. It's great around corners, and I just feel like it's such a reliable supercar. It's one of the most popular choices for people to use in races, and for an obvious reason, that it's just top tier in races, simple as that. Customization's decent too, with some liveries and other cool little features, but the highlight of it is definitely the performance for me. It was tough deciding which ones to squeeze into the top 10 because there are so many great supercars, let's say like the XA21 or the Devis T8, which didn't quite make the top 10, so let me know down below in the comments the ones that I missed. Now click the video on screen now for the overall fastest cars in GTA Online. I hope you all enjoy that video, and peace.